Okay, well, welcome back today. This has really been an interesting 2 weeks, actually. I'm going to give an update of where I've been over the last few weeks. Um, but I want to start out with the thumbnail that I posted. I think his name is Asmongold, and I could have the enunciation off. But, over the years, his image pops up in all of our feeds. Kind of a quirky guy, not necessarily a doctor or lawyer or an engineer, not necessarily an electrician or a plumber or a union kind of guy. Not, I don't know what else he could do, and this means no disrespect to him. Just I don't know what his education or acumen is, other than he seems to have a phenomenal YouTube channel. Now, he's talked about his parents, I've heard here and there, and they seem to be just extremely brilliant individuals. And you can see that through him, as he really packs a punch, as he's telling it like it is. But I bring this up today because where are we really in society? So welcome back. This is Tech Reality with Barbara. Today we're going to talk about the mass layoffs hitting the news industry, specifically because about 25 minutes ago, Washington Post posted again another slew of mass layoffs, and I'll talk more about that. But what I want to do is cross-reference the formal billionaire-funded news options that we have with the power of independent contract creators and where that's bringing us today. And the concept of news you can trust isn't a tagline or a brand anymore. You really find who you can identify with and who's bringing through the true stories that affect you and your life. So we are very privileged in this time to be able to do that. But discernment, again, is absolutely key, as we realize that for years, the articles in the newspapers change. And most of them, you can, as you're reading them, they're been AI written for many years. And as we see individuals on news anchors, and we've seen the images of many of them popping up at this, same screen with the same script, they're not out there as investigators. All they're doing is sharing the news. So today, when creators break the news, the Washington Post layoffs and future of journalism is the crux of what I want to talk about. But embedded in that, I want to talk about what layoffs mean to everybody. This isn't just, oops, let's just skip on to another job. A layoff means you've been pushed off your career ladder, and often you never get back on that ladder. So I want to start here. And again, I said this in the intro, but I really want to welcome you back to this channel as I'm putting more and more focus here and building this out and bringing more technical into it. I'm still trying to get the grounding and the news out there. So welcome back again to Tech Reality. I'm, of course, Barbara. I'm based here in Silicon Valley with decades of insights into the truth of what's happening here. And this is a very, very dark place for a lot of reasons. So we're talking about a moment that perfectly captures how upside down the world actually has become. When I am reporting news from the Asmongold channel, you know that, wait a minute, something's a little bit odd here. But I guess he was a gaming creator and streamer. He's the one that I saw, though, for the breaking of the news of mass layoffs at the Washington Post. He's a creator. He's not a journalist. He's not a newsroom. A creator with a webcam and a very, very large community. And honestly, that says everything about where the media is headed. In fact, I want to read, let me see if I can clip this over really fast and read this article to you. Let's see here. These are the headlines that I got today, and now it says 30 minutes ago, so still fairly recent. Washington Post begins sweeping layoffs as it scales back news coverage. What is the Washington Post if it's not news? The Washington Post is laying off a third of its workers, 33%. I heard that's around 300 people across all departments, scaling back foreign news coverage and shutting down some sections. I don't want to click on that. It's a whole nother, but that would be the head stuff. But even Jeff Bezos remains committed to the Washington Post amidst the brutal layoffs. Well, he owns it. Until he sells it, he hasn't walked away. And billionaires do not buy newspapers to make money. This has been a dying business for a long time. They buy it as a news piece. So Washington Post announces major layoffs as coverage narrows. All of us in the content space know that if we're not watched, we don't exist. But it hasn't seemed to matter to these commercial news for so long. They just manipulate and pull the strings and gain them push that out. It's a lot of what we read about Moon Ministries. Is that what that is? That they funneled in money from other money laundering critiques into, what was it, the Boston Globe? And I could absolutely be wrong with that. And they at one point lost somewhere around $800 million, and it didn't matter. They just kept funneling more and more in because it's about being the mouthpiece, controlling people with the propaganda. So again, things are strange when I have a thumbnail and my content is based on Asmongold. The Washington Post layoffs, this is segment 1 that I want to move into. Let's start with the facts. The Washington Post is owned by Jeff Bezos, and he bought it in 2013. He announced another round of layoffs. Reports circulating online referenced around 300 positions being cut as part of a restructuring effort. One journalist post was absolutely heartbreaking, and this is what Asmongold captured, which actually caught my attention. Otherwise, I would have kept moving. But it appears to be the young lady in the thumbnail, and I apologize if it is or it's not. I don't know. That was the reference I had. And it appeared to be a post on X. She was saying how much she absolutely loved her job. She was so proud to be a journalist, even in the war-torn country of Ukraine. And she talked about not having lights, using a pencil by a headlight of a car, occasionally going out into a car and having it run just so that they could have some heat and warm up. But she was so proud to be doing what she was doing. And then he scrolled down just slightly, and she announced she had just been laid off. Still in the war-torn country. I'm not sure when she posted that the shock had really set in, but just that switch of acknowledgement would be absolutely overwhelming to anybody. So the journalist, again, posted this heartbreaking update. She shared how much she loved her job as a war correspondent. And then in her next post, she revealed she was informed of her layoff while in an active war zone. Just even imagine that. Many of us have gone through job transition, whether on our own or somebody else's decision. That can be traumatizing in itself, especially if you leave one job for another and then the other job closes before you get to start. Or if you're diligently working one day and a tap on the shoulder comes and you're removed. The shock hits hard, but what if you're already traumatized in a war zone? That becomes life-changing. So in this case, the woman was risking her life to report the truth, what she saw in real time, what we're so grateful for right now for independent content creators. And the message that reaches you is your job is done. That's the emotional weight behind these headlines. So in segment 2 here, I want to talk about Bezos. He says he's committed to the Post, but they're restructuring and scaling back the news. So let me read this. Jeff Bezos has publicly stated he remains committed to the Washington Post, but the Post itself has said it's scaling back and restructuring, but specifically scaling back the news. This raises real questions. If a news organization isn't doing news, well, what is it doing? Because journalism is expensive. Investigations are expensive. War reporting is expensive. Truth seeking is expensive. And in a world where ad revenue is collapsing and audiences are shifting, Legacy media is struggling just to survive. So segment 3, I want to talk about the creator takeover. This is where Asmongold comes in. He's a one-man creator, a streamer, a guy who sits in front of a camera in a dark room that appears to be maybe a little unkept. I think he spends more time in the camera than doing anything else in his life, which is probably why he's successful at this. For hours and hours, and he reacts to community submitted clips. He seems to be on, quite honestly, I don't watch him enough. I normally see him pulling threads from X right now. I don't know where else he pulls everything, but he seems to really grab the heartfelt stories and put them out there. He's shown us a lot about what's really going on in Minnesota, what was going on in Portland, and then just daily things that people go through. And yet he's breaking news faster than traditional news outlets. There's no filter. He just grabs somebody who's posting what's happening in their life and lets the world know about it. So why? Because people aren't searching for news websites anymore. Google Trends shows a massive shift toward YouTube creators, independent journalists, community channels, real-time video evidence. People trust authenticity, someone that they can believe in, more than institutions. Creators show the raw footage. It's not edited, and sometimes it probably could be or should be. Creators show the receipts. They show the background. It's not a 60-second or 3-minute news story that you have to wait for the end of the day of. It's live. This is happening now. And they can run the film for hours on site, picking up local feeds. You don't have to judge by what happened in an instant. You can look back 30 seconds or 3 hours before that and understand what led to that moment. And often it's not even close to what the news has told us. Creators show mistakes, and creators show humanity. An audience actually responds to that. You know, we're grateful for that. For me, news is not about propaganda or another way to have fear in my life. News is about educating myself. Just from a heartfelt note, there was a moment in my life where I was quite young and I believed everybody. I was extremely naive. Discernment was not even in my vocabulary, which is why I really push this forward right now as a notion that we all have to have. But I remember asking God, and I said, just don't make me go through so much pain anymore. I've gone through enough pain. I know what pain is. Physical pain, medical health issues, emotional pain. I said, God, let's make a deal. From here on out, have people come to me and tell me their stories. And when they tell me their stories, I will heed those stories. Allow me to feel it in my heart so that I don't go down that same path and I can share those stories with others. That's not what we get from the news. But when we look at other creators, we can feel their pain, we can feel their success, we can feel their joy. And we can experience it in a way that we can either choose that path because we've seen that roll out before, or we can choose to hightail it in another way because we've seen that story before. It's a way to educate us based on real events. So segment 4 here, the collapse of traditional news. Well, let's be honest. Traditional news has been losing trust for years, not because journalists aren't doing their jobs. Many are really risking their lives, as it sounds like this journalist was. But because the business model is collapsing, print revenue is done. I mean, seriously, when was the last time you had a paper delivered to your home or rushed down to the library to look at the paper? Right? We're online. And even if Washington Post or Mercury News or any of those are online, they're grabbed by AI or they're grabbed by Google, they're grabbed by other. So people don't really have the need to dig deeper. They get the headline, they get the idea, and then they can find an independent source if they're interested to find the truth about what is history happening, not just a story happening. So because the business model is collapsing, print revenue is gone. Digital ads pay pennies, and subscriptions aren't enough. And AI is now generating content faster and publishing it faster via AI generated articles without even disclosure. We've noted that for years, that this article has a made up author. The person doesn't exist, the whole persona was created, and the news story was just generated. Some outlets even have been caught publishing AI generated articles without disclosure, and I don't have those up right now, but we've seen that. So when people say AI makes it all up, they're reacting to a very real erosion of trust. Segment 5, the human cost of layoffs. This is where we need to go back to. Let's talk about the human side. A layoff isn't just about a job loss, it's the creation of a cycle. You can do everything right, going all through your university years, having internships, top GPA, AP classes, sports, well-rounded, clubs, presidents, you name it, solid package. But when that layoff hit, it not only, I wouldn't necessarily say a bruise to the ego initially, but it makes you say, what happened? Even if there's a severance package, if you've gone through it before, you know that that severance package is a limited runway. That's not necessarily a bridge to your next career, and it's few and far between that it is. This affects your income, healthcare, housing, stability, often the identity, which pulls in the ego, community, and purpose. And we know that this can even affect relationships with family members, whether it's parents or children or spouse. It can affect all of them. Apparently, we're having neediness today. Okay, so here. It really affects community. For a while, you might want to volunteer or take another job to be out in community, but soon you realize you're just being used. Volunteer for what? An organization where a CEO is making hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars a year, while you just have the credit of being, I don't know, put down because you didn't move a piece of paper right, or low pay so that a global CEO can have massive impact, while you know the peers next to you, specifically if we go back to the H-1B visa conversation, are making, in my case, 7.5 to 12 times higher than what I was making. Clearly, the companies have the funds to pay it. They're just not paying you. And that sense of purpose, where do you belong in the world? Most of us do not have the ability to not work. We have to belong somewhere. And if we're not somewhere where we're really feeling comfortable and adding into society, it really pulls on a string of depression. I'm going to put you down. It becomes very hard. And once somebody has a taste of that depression, it's difficult to move on because it can be struck up sooner and faster. And I believe a lot of that has to do with, again, telling me a story so I can avoid it. Your internal system will say, hey, something's not right here. We don't want to go down that path. Sometimes you can shift quickly and sometimes you can't. During COVID, it was a musical chair scenario. You either grabbed a job and sat on it, kept that chair warm and didn't get up, or as soon as you lost that job, for so many, it was extremely difficult to find anything else. And those who did were penalized. Everybody I know, and this could not be everybody in the world, but those that I know ended up at even a lower pay rate with worse benefits. This doesn't have to be like that. Meanwhile, when you look at myvisajobs.com, I think was the link that I told you about before, you can see that during that same period of time of COVID, while you and I were trying to hold on to our chairs and not let that music stop on us, mass imports of H-1B visa workers came in. In fact, yesterday, and I hope to push this out tomorrow, Nike just got hit by the EEOC. Allegedly, I don't know where I put that in that sentence. Allegedly, Nike, because apparently They prioritize layoffs for you and I, not foreigners. We've known this. This is what Intuit allegedly goes in that conversation. Sweetheart, wait, okay? Oh, you're back. They like to take turns. Okay. So for many people, especially in journalism, this isn't simply something that I go and do. Like this young lady, it was probably a calling. This is what she felt her purpose and identity was tied to. The reality is it's going to be very difficult for her to get another job, especially in journalism, because this is one of the areas that AI has perfected. It can generate words faster than anybody else. It can edit itself. It could do an entire solopreneur job covering an entire Washington Post while you're just getting ready for bed. So when you lose that, when you lose your calling, you don't just lose a paycheck. There's a puzzle piece there. You're losing a piece of yourself. Now, this is where it becomes heartfelt, because as we talk about loss and job loss, individuals can feel a true post-traumatic stress from the job market, because the codependency on an employer is real. Who's paying the paycheck? Who's allowing you to live your lifestyle? Who's allowing you to take care of your children or put food on your table or even have a home? And once that rug is ripped out, it becomes real. We don't live in the GE or IBM, HP cradle to grave scenarios anymore. Even unions aren't guaranteed a cradle to grave. We've seen quite a bit of shift there. So when you lose a piece of yourself, what is next? So here's the brutal truth. When people never get back on the same career ladder, they have to just start over. They have to learn the ropes to skip and the rope to jump. It's often at lower pay, less respect, less stability, and fewer benefits. And even if you have the same medical benefits as others in the company, if you pull back the curtain and you realize, wait a minute, your benefits can't even be used within a 100-mile radius. What is the difference between what you were given and somebody else? It's drastic when you start asking questions. But then comes the reliance on government. They need unemployment. We need unemployment. They need government-funded health care. It's all funded by the taxpayer. They need housing support. And they need safety nets. But this cycle doesn't end here. What about when they finally reach retirement after most likely multiple layoffs? There's nothing more. There was no time to save for retirement because there was never any cash at the end of the week. And most companies that have churned through don't set up any kind of retirement plan for their employees. Even if it's mandatory, they make it very difficult to participate in, because the system wasn't built to support you. And so then throughout retirement, the individuals, once again, need the government, need tax-funded help like Social Security, medical, housing, and they have to drain everything in order to get the support that they really need, that they spend an entire career working towards, but abandoned one step after another. And for many, the abandonment wasn't just a walk away, it was a push off a plank. We see it all the time. And just because it's existing doesn't mean that that's okay, that that's the world we live in. So segment 6, why this matters for everyone. This isn't just about journalists. This is about every industry. Now, we speak about it a lot in tech, specifically because of AI taking over. But as I said, in tech, it's really not AI. It's another excuse to right size. Whatever flavor of story they can come up with is another reason to remove you, destabilize you. Because layoffs are happening everywhere: tech, retail, finance, media. And AI is accelerating the trend, but it's not the actual reason. When companies cut jobs, they cut autonomy, dignity, upward mobility, generational stability. They cause friction in families, and the effect ripples for decades. This is how generational poverty forms, and this is how cycles repeat. Segment 7, the new reality. You must build yourself. You have to promote your own brand. Who are you? What is the bridge that you're creating so that in between careers, if you choose to continue to be employee, you always have a place to land. People know to look towards you. Really focus on, well, here's the part nobody tells you, and you really need to heed. You cannot rely on a company to protect your future. Not anymore. And you certainly cannot rely on government. The key words, we're here from the government and we're here to help, are words that you never want to hear. You need to build your own brand, your own skills, your own network, your own digital footprint. And AI can help you with this. AI can be on your side. It can help you do that in an instant if you use it intentionally. So use AI to rewrite your resume, build a portfolio, create a personal website, track job applications, research company culture, identify toxic churn patterns, prepare for interviews, learn a new skill, start a side business, build a personal brand. Whatever you do, start now and sell something. Get out there, be bold. This is survival right now. We may not be running from big hairy beasts on the plane, but we're in survival. This world isn't free. Unlike what we're told that medical benefits or medical health care is a right, water's not a right. If you want drinking water, you pay for it, whether you pay it from a bottle or you get it in your home. If you want heat in your home, you pay for it. And it's very interesting that here in Silicon Valley, where we have over 3 million people, the amount just to have the PG&E bring utilities into the home, don't turn it on and don't use it, just to have the access brought to your home, which you cannot turn off, is more money than in videos I saw of individuals living in the uppermost city of Siberia, where it is so cold, it's often 40 degrees below. And they were complaining that their monthly bill was less money than what it costs us just to have ours on. How does that even make sense? It's greed, and it's destroying us. So the best tools to get started with are, of course, ChatGPT and Copilot. These would be for resumes and cover letters and interview prep. And Teal HQ for job tracking. Notion AI is phenomenal, but again, can get costly. But it's for building a portfolio, landing page, and organizations. Canvas AI is great for branding, but I've got to say that AI has surpassed Canvas in so many areas now. So unless you're really adept at using the design skills in Canvas, which are not hard to learn, there's better platforms for you at this point. LinkedIn AI for job matching, Coursera AI for skill building. And push yourself, get out there to find out in your community how you can get grants and participate in accelerators and startups. They're out there everywhere. Start building who you are so you have your own foundation. If you're looking to build a website, go to Lovable. Lovable has a free plan where you can build a dynamic user interface on the front end with a strong back end of databases that becomes extremely dynamic and helpful for you to either promote your business or promote yourself. But the thing is, start. You're not powerless and you're not stuck. You are not replaceable unless you stop evolving. You know, there's some things in life we can't quit. And during our career years, that's one of the things we just can't throw our hands up and stop. but take control so that people don't take control of you. So segment 8, the future of journalism. What happens to the war correspondent who is laid off in the middle, excuse me, in the middle of a war zone? Well, she'll land it somewhere. Obviously, in her career, she's going to have another opportunity, whether she creates it herself or she gets hired by an independent news source. Fox News is not getting great ratings, but at least apparently they're hiring. She'll land somewhere because people like her. People who tell the truth under fire are needed more than ever. So I wish you luck if you ever see this video. Maybe she joins an independent outlet. Maybe she starts her own channel. Maybe she becomes a creator. Maybe she builds her own brand. And honestly, that might be the future of journalism. Not institutions, not corporations, not billionaires, but individuals with cameras, with courage, with communities behind them. So in summary or closing, the Washington Post layoffs are heartbreaking, but they're also a wake-up call. The world isn't changing. It has already changed. Media has changed. Work has changed. AI has its hands in everything, whether it's the excuse or the actual one that has replaced the human ability. But you still have agency. You have the power. You still have a voice. Use AI to build yourself. Use AI to protect your future. Use AI to create opportunities. Don't wait for them, because in this new world, the people who thrive aren't the ones with the safest jobs. They're the ones who know how to adapt. Again, my name is Barbara. This is KG. And this is Tech Reality. Stay curious, stay empowered, and stay human. Now more than ever, we need you. Have a great day.